it seems only prudent that we invest the right amount of money in maintaining these things, since we're trying to not only improve them, but are spending a great deal of money improving them right now.
Is there, on something like this, where you're looking at setting up for lawn mowing equipment and lawn maintenance and stuff like that, would the benefit of farming this out and contracting this out be a benefit, or do you think it would cost more? I don't know.
We frankly haven't had time to take a look at that option. That's one of the things they wanted us to look at, but to get it going, they wanted to have something included this year. You know, we'd really have to go out and evaluate what the cost would be for maintenance. And the other problem we have, unlike some of the cities, is we're so spread out. Sometimes sending people all the way up to Least or Red Hill, and so it's something that could be explored. But we'll tell you, this morning, like I said, we saw a very nicely maintained park, about a 17-acre park, that is maintained entirely by the city. It includes everything. There's no maintenance farmed out or anything. It's very well maintained. I don't think the lawn mowing equipment they were using this morning is within the proposed 18,000 that's here. I think it's a little more than that, frankly, but we'll see when we eventually go out and buy it. The other thing I think that's worth considering on some of these maintenance things is, as you know, when we created the Parks Commission, we also authorized the formation of a 501c3 for tax benefits and also donations. And as I reported to you, I'll be making a more detailed presentation to you on the parks in a week or two. But we've been very fortunate to gain a lot of support from a variety of people, companies at the construction part of the park so far. Hopefully some of the money that can be garnered through the 501c3 can also then be used again to help augment these kinds of improvements. But right now I think you need to consider them.
Okay. Any other comments? I have some comments here myself. I think you know this. I made some comments to suggestions to some of the Park and Rec committee members, and something that our board should perhaps consider is you'll be hearing from other groups as well. We have two very large landfill projects that are going to bring in over the next years and for many years to come substantial amounts of money that are going to have, like every dollar, there's going to be 100 hands reaching for every dollar. Perhaps there's already some need for some of the money to do deals with some other things like take care of closures and so forth and within the program, but perhaps we need to look at a couple of the issues. We created the Parks and Rec Department, Commission, excuse me, not department, I guess it's part of the department, but we haven't come up with any funding, and perhaps we need to do a carve-out or fund it perhaps out of this, a portion of this money that comes to us from the landfills ultimately, and we fund Parks and Rec not only for the maintenance but also some additional money so that we can use it for hard matches for getting other grants to do other parks. Sunbeam is fine, but and in this way it would benefit the entire valley. It would have a benefit for the valley wide, not just one particular community or whatever. So maybe we look at doing that. And I'd ask that they needed, and perhaps they were already working on it, creating a budget not only just for the maintenance but other types of things, and that we look at doing that this along with other types of things, that maybe look for a funding source for this. And to that end, I believe they're going to bring that request to us, I think,
yes,
in the future.
I was advised by one of the commissioners, I believe, had spoken to you, and then on the agenda, I believe, for tomorrow to discuss that.
Correct.
And if I may, taking off on that, there have been a number of proposals come before the commission to look at alternate funding, not just, well, first of all, we're sending out a donation request letter to virtually everybody under the sun through the 501c3 program to see what we solicit in that manner. One or two meetings back, there was a proposal made to us that we look into acquiring the property that Caltrans has on this R7, for example, and turn that into a revenue. I'm not sure that'll pan out because I believe Caltrans has to sell that at fair market, and I'm not sure that makes sense. But those are some of the things that we are looking at through the commission and various other things with the commission. And they're very concerned about funding because they realize you don't just have a deep pocket for these kinds of things. But they felt very strongly that I relayed to that we need to maintain the parks, especially once we improve them, or sort of a false economy.
Well, I think that it would be prudent for us to look at that. That's like us looking at giving substantial raises to employees and forgetting about and ignoring the other costs related to that, such as retirement, you know, and not funding that side of things, and knowing that that's not going to come back and haunt you. And to put all the money in investment and all the goodwill that into our park system, and then not properly maintain that system would be a travesty, I think. It would be just flat out wrong. And so we've got to look at that. And there's not a lot of pots of money to look at finding the money. So maybe something that we need to deal with is when some of these things happen, like these are going to come in, is that we begin to look at doing that from there and fund it, something that's going to have, you know, it's because there's been comments that, you know, how is this money going to come to benefit everybody? Well, put it into something that can benefit everybody, and a parks system has an ability to benefit everybody. And so there's not as many. The other one is illegal dumping, but that's a different deal, and that benefits everybody too, right? So those are the two things. That was my recommendation to them, maybe for them to discuss it, which they're going to, and then see about bringing that to us with their thoughts and see what we think about it. Then we can have a discussion together.
And I think I sent you an email, and they're meeting on Wednesday, correct?
Tomorrow.
Yeah, so anything that comes out of that meeting, you can just submit into the record, so that also could be considered.
Tuesday or Wednesday?
I'm sorry, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Fourth day has me confused, you know.
Tomorrow is-
On Monday, so.
Tomorrow in this part of the world is Tuesday.
The board day tomorrow, yes. I did have a question maybe for Roberta on any, and this is something I thought of on the plane back, but the completion of Sunbeam, especially the item I brought to you last week on the core permit, that hasn't been submitted as to any kind of amount because I really don't know yet. Is that an augmentation that I just put in and say amount to be determined?
I would strongly recommend you estimate
Well, I can give you a
what
number,
it's,
but I may be, you know,
because
100% off.
I'm not sure that since you weren't here this morning, that we only have $200,000
On the
over
every
what's
bit of it,
budgeted.
thank you.
But and there's a lot of, I think our requests are about, I'm not sure what they are now. They were 1.3 million when we started. I think they're a little higher now.
Okay, I'll put in a special augmentation with an estimate.
So I suspect that anything like that is going to be dealt with later in the year when we know if we have any money.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm not, thank you. Anything else you want to present here? That's it?
I have a couple of corrections, or just a couple of things I want to comment to you on. There's one item that's identified as the CEO. It is not general fund. It is a request from BLM for displays at Buttercup Ranger Station, and that request is for OHV fees.
Those will come out of OHV fees, right?
Well, that's what they're really requesting.
Okay. All right. Yeah, well, I actually had a question written about that.
BLM is requesting that amount from us?
No.
From the OHV fees to do...
They want to put 2 interpretive displays in the public room at the Buttercup Ranger Station. $20,000, 10,000 apiece. And so they're going to request from that, so it's not general fund monies.
It's not general fund
It
money.
shouldn't be any. So when you calculate things like that, Roberta, that's $20,000, and then there was $107,000 that was moved to the CIP. I have a feeling there's a couple other items on here that are probably CIP items, shouldn't be on here. And so
Well, they may be CIP items as long as there's other funding. Now, I mean, if we're just going to move them to some future CIP and not approve them as capital for this year. And I believe the megabyte, Doug, the megabyte for the tax collector and auditor's office, isn't that from tobacco funds? Or it has been in the past couple of years. I think that was,
Right, that's been from tobacco funds, and I think we'll be in the final year for payment on that one. And then we also have some items that are being paid, not out of the general fund, but